consent, boundaries, and types of interactions. So when we're talking consent, first and foremost, well, before I get all into it, hello, my name is Amy S.P. Wilson, and I'm the CEO of Safety Positive Foundation. If you have not hit that subscribe button yet, please hit the subscribe button. We need subscribers. I guess we don't need it, but we want subscribers around here. And if you like our videos, hit that like button. We like the likes. It might be a thing. I don't know. Anywho's, consent, boundaries, and those types of interactions. Okay, back to what I was saying, because I'm just that excited to talk about consent and boundaries. First and foremost, when we're talking consent, if nobody has told you this, let me be the one to tell you. You have 100% permission to say no for whatever reason, for even if you're in a situation where you're like, ooh, I'm feeling it, and then all of a sudden you're like, wait a minute, I'm not feeling it anymore, I want to say no. Say no. No. It's 100% to say no, okay? Just know that, okay? Don't question it. If they, all of a sudden are like, wait a minute, and they start pressuring you, that's not okay, okay? Like, then make them feel awkward. It's about them. Like, don't even question it. It has everything to do with them in that moment if they're not okay with it. You have 100% permission from me, from the universe, from anything you believe in. You can say no. So that's the consent part of this conversation, all right? Types of interactions. When we're talking types of interactions, there are three most types of interactions. So when we're talking about self-defense or teaching safety education stuff, there are three general types of interactions. There is consensual, which is what we all want. We all want consensual interactions. Man, that'd be great. But as blind and visually impaired individuals, we don't usually always get that choice. We end up with people who want to come up and grab us and do the, here, let me help you here. It's not like we have a sign on our head that says, I need help, even if they just assume we want the help. Holler if you hear me. Anywho, my age might be showing. Anywho, so in those interactions, when people are coming up and grabbing us, that's 90% of what blind and visually impaired individuals are dealing with when people are coming up and grabbing us, and it's usually our wrist, our elbow, or our shoulders that are typically being grabbed. And in those situations, those types of interactions would be called an incident, when they don't realize what they're doing is essentially wrong. And it's because of lack of education, lack of awareness, just lack of knowledge. Ignorance you can chalk it up to, but it's just lack of know-how. So be aware of that. And that is 90% of what we encounter as blind and visually impaired individuals. I don't have a stat to back me up on that, but that is generally what I've come across, and a lot of other people that I know have come across. So please keep that in mind. Now, 10% of what we've encountered is violation, where people know exactly what they're doing is to harm you. Like, you might have told them, hey, I'm not cool with it, and they're doing it anyways. Or they just straight out have intentions of harming you. There may not even have been a conversation. They're just coming up and grabbing and dragging you off somewhere with the intentions to harm you. Again, violation is not cool. I've had violations happen to me. It's not okay. And if you've not talked to anybody about it, I encourage you to talk to somebody about it. As a survivor myself, it can be helpful to share it with somebody. So I encourage you, if you've not talked to anybody about it, to talk to somebody about it. So that's just my personal 2 cents on that. Moving on. So those are your 3 types of interactions: consensual, gosh, it would be great if we all had those all the time. That's not the way the world works. Incident, it's a my bad type of situation. And I've even done those occasionally where it's like I knew, oh crap, my bad, type of thing. And you apologize and you just do better next time. And then you have your violations where you knew what you were doing was wrong and your intention was to harm somebody. Not cool to just not cool. Those are your three things. Now, when we get into the boundaries part, and we're going to do another video on setting boundaries, so I'm not even going to try to address that in this conversation. But when we're talking about boundaries, a boundary is something you, yourself need to have a discussion with yourself. And it has a lot to do with being more self-aware about what expectations you want for people. You definitely need to be aware of what kind of boundaries you want to have with people. You cannot you cannot run around telling people, this is my boundary, and if you cross it, you're setting yourself up for failure in that way. If you have the boundary of, I'm not going to put up with this behavior, you can say, hey, I'm not okay with that. Please don't do it again. They do it again. You just need to decide what you're going to do in that type of situation and then do the thing. That's kind of that setting that boundary, but I'm, again, not going to get into that. But decide what you're going to accept and not going to accept. That's sort of that boundary situation in your own mind. But you have to be self-aware enough to know what you're comfortable with your boundaries. Are you okay with somebody coming up and grabbing you and dragging you somewhere? If you're not, then you probably need to get more comfortable in speaking up for yourself and saying, hey, I understand you're trying to help me, but, personal boundaries are a thing right now, and I'd appreciate it if you took your hand off me and we could communicate a better way of you trying to help me. Highly recommend, if you struggle in communicating those types of boundaries, that you take Safety Positive's verbal craft and learn that. As somebody who struggled with setting boundaries herself, me right here, raising my hand, verbal craft has really helped me to be able to do that. And I've watched so many people not be able to speak up for themselves when they do get grabbed. And so it is part of learning that boundary. And so I cannot emphasize it enough on the learning how to I guess set that boundary. But you have to be self-aware enough to know, can I communicate? Can I do this? Can I speak up for myself? What am I comfortable with? What am I not comfortable with? And if you are struggling to figure out what kind of questions to ask yourself, attend our tea times. We have these discussions. We had a great discussion on Monday night about this very topic. And I shared some of my processes of how I work through becoming self-aware. Some of our other team members from Safety Positive were sharing some of their stories. And so it is a journey when you're discovering how your boundaries are. And so it is a process. It's not something that you're going to figure out in a day, a week, a month. It does take time, especially if you struggle with it, or if you've had things happen in your life to where you struggle with it, essentially. Anywho, so boundaries are an invisible thing. You can't hang it up on the wall. You can't wear a sign over your head. You have to go out into the public world. And one of the other things in our discussion is boundaries change over time. The boundaries I have right now for myself are going to be changed probably in a year or 5 years. And so it grows and evolves over time, because as individuals, we grow and evolve over time as well. The boundaries I had 10 years ago are completely different from now, because I have definitely grown as a person, and I can definitely communicate better for myself than I did 10 years ago. So that's something to think about as well when you're thinking about your boundaries, what you're okay with, and things like that. And so here at Safety Positive, we're all about helping you work through that process and guiding you through that process. And the tea times are a great way to keep that in mind, to work through it, because I'm sure our consent and boundaries thing are probably going to be a hot topic that we keep probably on the calendar in June, just so that way people are continuously evaluating, what are my boundaries? What am I looking at? What am I okay with? What am I not okay with? And that is a very normal, healthy thing to continuously look at, evaluate, and all those wonderful things. So I hope this was helpful. I know it's helpful for me to be able to talk about these things with you guys. I love the feedback that I always get from you all. So feel free to comment, like, share, subscribe, share with your friends, send it in email, or put on your favorite social media channels and all that wonderful stuff. And as always, keep living a safety positive life, because that's what it's all about here. And we'll see you on the next video.